Hey, Shalom, all praise unto Yahweh, Shemi Al-Shai, double honors the apostles of GMS, honor to you brothers that be pushing this truth in sincerity. Okay, I got this article out on the Guardian, okay, the Guardian news outlet, okay, and it's basically going into the monetary system, man. And what you can see from the global debt, which is 152 trillion, all right, what you're gonna see in this article, pretty much, um, the global output, global financial output is a lot less than that, isn't it? So they're never going to be able to pay this debt, all right. Which is leading, ultimately that's going to lead onto a major global economic crisis, man. All right. So, but I thought it was interesting because you go to this website, right, and you got, some of these things are relevant and all of that, but this is supposed to be the most, significant piece of news for the day. You can see it's right here at the bottom. A lot of people probably ain't gonna read that, okay, because they're gonna be distracted by whatever nonsense, else falls. Like people read news anyway, but if they did, they'll probably miss that anyway. So getting back onto the point, I'm gonna read a few bits and pieces in this. I'll elaborate in a few bits and pieces, and call it a day. It should be a relatively quick video, okay, but it all goes to show you that Yahweh Shemi Hashai set it out for Esau to be so proud that he was going to set up a system that he thought he was going to artificially destroy himself, but really it was the Most High who was going to destroy it, man. Okay, and you're going to have all kind of, hey, when people ain't got no money, man, they go, hungry man is an angry man, a lot of people are going to be angry, man. Okay, they're going to rise up against, like the book of 2nd Ezra, the 15th chapter. Says then they're going to regard their kings and all princes, man. They're going to rise up against them so-called kings and princes, man, which is them, the heads of governments. And in some countries, you actually got kings and queens and monarchies that actually rule and run their countries, man. But in most so-called first world countries, they've got superficial kings and monarchs that really just, bring in a different type of business, but they don't really run the government or something or anything like that, like England. Okay, so it says debt levels is more than twice the size of the global economy and unprecedented as a proportion of GDP. The fund says. So this is IMF urges governments to tackle record global debt, which that's not going to happen. This is what is plausible deniability as always. This is the so-called, we all know these people are working for the elite, so they got an agenda for and they got an agenda against. In other words, they present two arguments, but ultimately they always lead you down the path of chaos. Okay, just like with the Brexit thing, you was given the option for two and against, but ultimately you went down the path of chaos. Okay, because chaos is advantageous and lucrative to the elite banking families, man. Okay, so it says the debt levels is more than twice the size of the global economy and unprecedented as proportional of GDP. It says the fund says. All right. Let's read into some of this meaty stuff. It says the International Monetary Fund has urged governments to take action to tackle the record 152 trillion debt mountain before it triggers a fresh global financial crisis. A fresh global financial and economic crisis. Okay, it says warning that the debt levels were not just high but rising. And we know they're rising because that's how the monetary system works. You borrow to get your currencies, man. You have to borrow to get currencies, so you're always going to have exponential debt growth. Okay, so it says the IMF said it was vital to intervene early in order to mitigate the risk of a repeat of the damaging events that began with the collapse of the US subprime housing bubble almost a decade ago. So you had it to where you had the 2008 crash, but a lot of people, some of them outlets will tell you this, but you're not gonna find too many outlets that tell you that really what happened in 2008 that hasn't stopped. What you've seen is a continuation of that. See, all of that debt that was amassed up into 2008. Okay, the government's bailed out some of it, and you had it to where businesses were about to go bust and they got bust and so on and so forth. But ultimately, what you had was a situation where a lot of that debt, a lot of the consequences of that 2008 crash they actually haven't been dealt with. They've been masked. Okay, they've been watered down. For instance, to next to zero, percent interest rates that you got out there, both in England and America. That being the Bank of England and the Federal Reserve. Okay, that sets the rates of mortgages and so on and so forth. Okay, which is good if you got savings. It's terrible because you haven't got no major savings. You're gonna interest you're gonna be making on those savings. But if you got a mortgage, it's good because you can buy a house a little bit cheaper. Okay, but that's the same thing that that was a dampener of the results of 2008. Okay, and now you're having it to where all of those things are being manifested before everybody. Okay, and now you got people out there on YouTube and they're making an uproar about it, but the vast majority of the people in the book of Isaiah, that the 30th chapter says how that gross darkness was going to cover the whole earth. Okay, the vast majority of the people just want to see their kids grow up. Okay, they know they're in slavery, but they just want to see their kids grow up. All right, but hey, man, that's not the spirit you're supposed to be in. You're supposed to want your kids to grow up in a healthy environment, man. Okay, not only that healthy environment is only going to be set up when your household returns. Okay, so it said that the new research in its half-yearly fiscal monitor, right, covering 113 countries, had shown that the debt was currently 225% of the global GDP. God damn it! All right, it's a fucking hell, bro. All right, so not 100 times more than the GDP of basically the global output. Okay, the amount of money the whole economy in the world is making is 225% times that, man. Okay, it says with the private sector responsible for 2/3 of the total. It says Vista Gasper, the director of IMF's Fiscal Affairs Department, said that 152 trillion is a record high. All right, so if it's a record high, guess what? That number was lower during the 2008 crash. So one has to assume that another major crash is coming. All right. It says in places around the world where we have excessive debt. So some places we have debt, in particular non-financial corporations debt, growing very fast. A crucial message from the fiscal monitor is that when the private debt is on an unstable path, it is important to intervene early, right, in the process to make sure that the financial crisis and recession can be prevented. But you've just said you're at record high. Okay, it's a record high. So yeah, you're gonna have all of them things happen. Okay, you're gonna have and we know the elites want that to happen because they could issue out the chip. All right, they could issue out the chip by way of having these global markets, and they say global markets. Okay, it's not isolated. Okay, it's the whole global market that's gonna crash this time, and they're gonna bring forth that chip heavy as a result of that. Because when you have damn near 70% of people just gonna lose work in one day. Okay, if you got all of that happening, then hey, man, a lot of people are gonna want a solution towards that, and that's where the chip comes into play. So I'm not gonna read the rest of that. You can read the rest of it for that yourself. Hopefully the point is made. Okay, with that I'm gonna say all praise unto Yahweh Shemi Al-Shai, double honest the apostle of GMS, and honest you brothers that be pushing this truth in sincerity. Shalom.